Thank you, Francesco. Yes, just a few words. I don't want to waste the time because it's more interesting to listen from Simone and Giulia. The topic today for this webinar is in the context of this quite large framework of activities concerning information and training of stakeholders concerning the implementation of sustainability in the farm. So actually our group, our research group, our institute, Opera and the Cattolica University is investing since the beginning of this century on the implementation of sustainability. We're developing technologies, protocols, and also startup. That's, I mean, everything is growing up. And in the context of this last webinar, so the issue is to present technologies and the concepts that can be easily implemented. And that's, I mean, makes the webinar kind of advisors concerning on what to do, how to do, and why is user-friendly to do such specific activity in the context of the sustainability development and continuous improvement. So today we will talk about local identity and sustainability. This is something which is quite original because we basically we start from a very well-known concept like aspects related to the certification of sustainability, but in the context of the multifunctionalities and ecosystem services that can be provided throughout the sustainability, specifically when we talk about sustainability that is based at landscape level, at local level, which is really the core of the identity of one territory, and which is basically constituted by people and community, not only plant and animals, but especially people anyway. So that's the issue. And then I'm looking forward to listen from Simone and Giulia the description of this concept and how we can implement operationally into the farms. Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I mean, I will pass the microphone to Simone, and then Giulia will be later on. Thank you, and thank you for all the participants that are in this webinar today and online, and not online, but in the future directly in the InfoOne platform. Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Ettore. So Simone, we can see your screen. Giulia, you can turn off your webcam and your microphone and leave the floor just to Simone. Ettore as well, you can turn off your webcam and microphone. And Simone, we can see you and hear you perfectly. You can go.
Thank you, Professor. Oh, well, I can talk for hours, so I will try to be very compressed and synthetic and give you some general overview about how much is important economic development when we talk about sustainability. Usually, the standard model of sustainability is about three pillars. One is society, the other one is environment, and the third one is economy. But point is that many times we give more priorities to society and to environment, less priority to economy. But we need to understand that any action pursued in the name of sustainability, if that action that don't generate economic value, they are not sustainable by definition. They can be obligations. For example, we must protect the environment, we must give social services, but if they don't generate value, they are not sustainable. So I'm going to give you a few details, which is a general overview on how to measure the value of sustainability. And first of all, the one thing that we cannot impose to any company is to invest in anything. Any company will decide to pursue the logics of sustainability according to their own assessment about convenience and opportunity. They do a check about pros and cons, about cost and benefits, and if it gives benefits, then they actually invest in sustainability. And in economic competition, sustainability must translate into a competitive advantage. If it doesn't give a competitive advantage, the company don't have resource, so therefore they have no convenience to invest in sustainability. And the third point that we need to take into account is that sustainability must be systemic. We need to avoid as much as possible to give sustainability as an imposition, because obligations in the market that they usually creates uneven costs for the companies, which means that some companies have those costs, other companies don't have those costs because of obligations, and this gives non-even scenario of competition for the companies, and this creates a lot of problems for the companies, for the competition, for the price and for the quality of the goods. So how to measure and how to create value? Well, we have many different kinds of definitions of value. So I'm going to focus on two definitions. One is an objective measure about economic growth, and we begin with the standard indicator of economic growth, which is GDP. And Keynes equivalence of the GDP is usually consumes plus investments plus public expenditure and balance of trade. Balance of trade is total export less minus total import. And there are other formulas to calculate the GDP. One other is the total gross output of a country or of a territory minus all the intermediate costs for raw materials and intermediate goods. This formula is actually how we calculate the value added in a country or a value added in a territory. Value added is all the sold production, and in statistics we call it PRODCOM, minus direct costs. So what does it pay, value added? It actually pays labor, it pays investments, and it pays the margin of the companies. So these three formulas, the first one is in the national accountability, the second one is in the national accountability, the third one you can find it not in the national accountability but in the accountability of the companies in the microeconomy systems, but the value added is exactly the same. So the point is that when we talk about value and economic growth, the first indicator we are looking for is value added. And when we talk about sustainability and value added, we need to understand that it means that we have to balance the economic growth among these three elements of the value added. More value for labor, more investments, and more margin for the companies. So creating value means giving those three pillars an increasing of value. And then we have the subjective measure of economic value and sustainability. Subjective means what I, as a person, as a consumer, think about what value is. And this is a matrix that lets you understand from the bottle of wine to some indicators where the value is, how I can evaluate the value for a bottle. And in the triangle, that triangle is the classic pyramid of Maslow. It is the representation of the needs of all the kind of consumers. And the needs of consumers are mainly 5 steps of the pyramids. And we begin with the tangible balance of the needs, physiology, safety, which are related to my survival. They are related to my need to drink, my need to get food, my security, my safety. So finding what is able to keep me alive and let me stay alive. But then there are other three steps of the needs, and those steps are intangible valence, have an intangible valence, and the sense of belonging, which means friendship, love, family affection, a sense of esteem, so mutual respect, self-esteem, self-control, and the self-actualization, which means creativity, acceptance, curiosity, and so on. Related to wine, this means that the tangible valence are related to how it is easy to find wine, how it is easy to procure it. Is it safety? Do we have traceability? And all the certification about the product and the processes. But when we look at the intangible valence, we mean that we use wine for example, as an experience and an act of sharing with our friends, or as an experience or living the wine as a status symbol of well-being or acculturation, or living a first-hand and engaging experience of enjoyment of products and services that are evocative of places and cultures, and that is the self-actualization stage. Which means that when I look at the wine and think about sustainability, sustainability is related only to the product in itself, what I drink, what I smell, what I look at. Actually, we are giving a characterization of the sustainability which is not in a high value. It is in the middle and low value, because we are talking about only 2 needs out of 5. It's like we are giving a bottle that's not full. It is empty for 3/5 of the bottle. So the consumer look at an experience if all the levels have an answer to our needs. And 3 of those levels are intangible. So where can I find that? Well, the answer is I can find it in the territorial identity, because the wine is related to a specific territory. It is not actually a simple commodity. We cannot mix the same kind of drinking like we are, for example, drinking Coke or other carbonate. Point is that the wine is the only drinking that is actually able to bring the territorial identity inside the bottle. So I value intangible valence and territorial identity is where we can give a high value for the wine. So generating value means bringing together those 2 different blocks: more value for labor, more investment, more margin for your companies, intangible valence and territorial identity. But how? That's the question. Well, I'm going to give you just a couple of case studies so I can give you some hints. We are not going to talk in detail about the models, but there are also models to do that. The first case study is about the city of Dijon and the Chinese tourism. Well, Dijon is the capital of Burgundy, and they had a problem with the visits of Chinese tourists, because they were coming with the bus every day and stay just half a day in the city. So in the end, Dijon was not the capital of Burgundy, so one of the most important regions for wine, but it was the capital of the mustard. And the point is that the high-spending Chinese-dependent tourists are the most rich tourists in the world. They actually spend around $300 US dollar per day per person at destination. So the tourist office of the metropolitan city of Dijon enact a program of 2 years involving local stakeholders and local companies. And they made an adaptation project for the local offer and a promotion of the local offer in China, using the territorial identity as a key for the promotion. And after 2 years, they have these impacts, the direct impacts and indirect impacts in the project that they had. The first impact is about tourism, and they had 185,000 new high-spending tourists. They were all high-spending Chinese tourists, and which means that they had an increasing of 150 million euro of turnover incoming just for the tourism. But what we can see about the export of wine is that actually exactly during the COVID period, when China reduced the import of wine, we are talking about the currently in 2022, the volume of wine that China is importing from around the world is half of the wine that China was importing in 2019. While in the same period, the Burgundy actually doubled the export to China in terms of volume, which is already a great feat. But not only that, they also more than doubled the value of the export. Actually, the price per liter passed from around 18 euros per liter to more than 33 euros per liter, which means that promoting territorial identity, they achieved value in two ways, because they had tourists that were there for tourism that was wine tourism, it was cultural tourism, it was naturalistic tourism, but at the same time they exported more and at a higher value the wine to China. And we have also another case study here in Italy, in Friuli Venezia Giulia region. The local agency for the development of the agri-food clusters established this, it's a brand actually, I am Friuli Venezia Giulia, and it was in the beginning it was meant to support the local supply chains with some criteria of sustainability during the COVID period, and then after that it became a flagship project in the region. So the point is that they can give, this is not a certification, this is a brand, which means the company can adhere to the brand if they have some certain criteria. But what I want to stress out that in the end, this year, this agency made some agreement with a large-scale distribution organization, and for example, the Spar Group, which is one of the largest in Europe. And the Spar Group is actually buying and preferring products that have the brands to products that don't have the brands. If they have to choose the same kind of product coming from Friuli Venezia Giulia, they select the company or the product that have that brand. It means that actually sustainability on the product, talking about wine or agri-food, is something that is becoming a requirement for the goods to be on the shelf. And this is very important. It's not more value as a price, it is more value because it is a requirement to stay on the market. And what's important to see here that the agency, the governance of the agency, is actually a public-private participation organization. It means that it mixes local government together with the private sector, with the companies, and with the federation that represent the companies. So before establishing this project, they actually had a long discussion about the governance of this project. So which are the takeaways or the lesson that we learned from our examples? First of all, sustainability of product and sustainability of process are becoming a requirement for the market. It is the beginning, but little by little, consumers are looking at this certification because they are selecting products that have this kind of brands and prefer to buy those kind of brands instead of non-branded goods, talking about brand about sustainability. Then we understand also that the territorial identity is able to create value added, but under some specific condition. First of all, territorial identity is something dynamic. It means that it is made of some elements that needs to be preserved and some others that must be adapted. Which ones? Well, those ones that are connected to the needs of the consumers. So we need to study the consumers. They are not all the same, so it means they need to do also a segmentation about the consumers, and they have to do also plans for them. So I need to do plans where I need to understand what I have to preserve, and I need to do plan to understand what I have to change. Then territorial identity must be iconic, which means it has to be immediately recognizable by those who don't stay and don't live in the territory, but at the same time it has to be shared by those who live there. They need to feel the territorial identity, otherwise they're not able to do the plans to do what they have to do. At the same time, the people that are not living on the territory, they need to recognize it because otherwise they are not able to associate the territory and what the territory actually represents. And the territorial identity embraces wine, yes, of course, but it also embraces at the same time tourism and agri-food. They are all aspects of the same kind of products, which is territorial identity. And the fourth pillar of how we can create value with the territorial identity is we need to have public-private governance. It is necessary because we need to understand what we have to do with adaptation activities, which means that we need local governments to act together with the private companies. At the same time, we need to sell the products, because otherwise if we don't sell the products, if we don't sell wine, if we don't sell tourism, we actually are not able to achieve any value. So we need to organize the distribution channel, and this is something that belongs to the private sector. But in countries, for example, like Italy, where the vast majority of the company are small medium enterprises with less than 50 workers, they actually need to be helped by the local government, the local agencies, in how to aggregate and how to create structures to do sales and arrange the distribution channels. So this is the general overview. Thank you for your attention. And if you have any question, you can ask, and then we will reply later.
Thank you very much, Simone. Now we'll go with Giulia's presentation. So Giulia, you can start by sharing your webcam, and Simone, you can turn off yours. Okay, we can see your screen.
Well, can you see it in full screen?
Yes,
the presentation?
Perfect, yes.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. I present myself. I'm a research fellow at Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore, where I mainly work on projects related to environmental sustainability of the agri-food supply chain. And today I'm going to present an example of the sustainability of the Italian wine sector, in particular the Viva certification program. And so following Simone's presentation, can a sustainability certification contribute to value generation? Sorry. So I will talk about this from a different perspective compared to previous presentation. So I want to start with the perspective of sustainability from the point of view of consumers. I start with some data regarding the willingness to pay a higher price for a sustainable product. In general, as you can see from the graph here at the top of the right of the slide, youngs are among consumers the ones that have a higher willingness to pay for eco-friendly products, while the generation called baby boomers, they are the least interested. More in detail, for wine, a study conducted in Sicily shows that among a Sicilian consumer sample, over 80% will pay a price premium for a sustainable wine. Also, in this case, the decision was positively influenced by the age, and also, interestingly, occasional consumers would spend more on buy sustainable wine. And also, the presence of certification played an important role in the decision process of the study. As you can see from the percentage here at the bottom of the slide, the top 5 environmental concerns among the European consumers are plastic, global warming, cleaning rainforest, air, and water pollution. And all these concerns are topics of the VIVA program that we will see. Therefore, in choosing whether or not to certify a product or a company, a key element will be to look at the future, because the purchase of wine in Italy, but I think also in Europe and all over the world, is moving towards a more consumption with higher average price per bottle. The trend includes the consumers of the future, which are millennials, Generation X, who drink and will drink little, but will opt for quality and sustainable bottles. Here is you can see another study also concerning the sustainability for consumers, as visible in table 2. Overall, from the sample considered, almost 78% of consumers worldwide will pay a premium price for sustainable wine, so almost the same of the previous study. As you can see here in table 3, as consumer knowledge increases, the average premium price decreases. And as you can see in table 4, so different analyzed for different type of segment of consumer, urban consumers show the highest willingness to pay a premium price, while trendy consumer showed the highest actual, the highest pay that they will give for a sustainable wine. Moving to the sustainability perception from wine companies. This is a study done in Italy. So for the analyzed company, the most important driver were ethical choice here as an internal driver, and to protect the regional products. While in this case, wine producers seem to be less driven by the possible premium price, and also to obtain from the nation or Europe subsidies. Interestingly, the 10% of the sample companies in this study are VIVA certified. Lastly, an overview from the sustainability point from the international market. So to access in certain markets like Canada, Sweden, Norway, which are characterized by monopolistic conditions, so the only companies that are allowed to sell alcoholic beverages are selected one. Companies to be sold in this channel must obtain specific certification. Being certified as sustainable not only enables for companies to earn points, but also to facilitate to enter in this market. Some example here, you can see here Alko, which is the Finnish monopoly, in particular the Green Choice Symbol project. This symbol represents the sustainability certification, which indicates that some measure have been taken to promote sustainability development during in this case, wine production. Here you can see the Vinmonopolet Norway, sorry for my pronunciation, and it's the monopoly market in Norway. And here the Swedish Sustainable Choice Program, System Bogalet, which is the monopoly market in Sweden, and only a few standards in the world meet the sustainability parameters required by this system. VIVA products that are certified VIVA can enter in this market, so they value this certification. So, but what is VIVA? VIVA, it is the program developed by the Italian Ministry of the Environment and Energy, which since 2011 has been promoting the sustainability of the Italian wine sector. In particular, VIVA provides a national standard to measure and improve the sustainability performance in viticulture in Italy. 2 research centers were invited to help the Italian ministry, Opera, Research Center at Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore, e Agronova in Torino. And 9 pilot companies were selected to have the first trial at the beginning of the program. This is important because also if Viva is a public program, ministry, producers, researchers have worked together since the start of the program itself with a bottom-up approach. And now, today, over the last years, hundreds of companies joined the program and the number is constantly growing. So here you can see, to show you what is Viva today, some detailed number. So more than 50,000 of hectare, 329 million liters, and 5 million of bottles are certified Viva, with more than 350 consultants trained in Viva courses as sustainability operator for the wine sector, so as consultant. So to do all this that you just saw, Viva used some important ingredients, in particular indicators to measure sustainability that we will see in 1 minute. Improvement plans. Here it is important to underline that it is also a certification like this, a tool for internal management and continuous improvement of the company production. The core of the program is the measure of the sustainability performance, not because it is important to have a measure itself, but because it's important to improve. And in order to improve, you need to have a compass and numbers. For example, when we start a diet, it is important to have a weight scale to track the improvements. And it is the same with Viva indicators. They help the companies in order to understand what are their hotspots in their production and how it is possible to reduce the impact, developing a specific plan of improvements based on the results of the indicator. And lastly, there is a certification that lasts 2 years. After 2 years, the company must send updates to the ministry demonstrating that they have been implementing the suggestion highlighted in the improvement plan. To promote the culture of sustainability in the wine sector, Viva organizes training courses, webinars, and dissemination events. So as I was saying, Viva measured the sustainability of the wine companies using specific indicators in order to improve the sustainability performance and analyze the results. The methodology of these indicators are described in detail in the Viva specification, which are periodically updated on the basis of the evolution of the European or international sector regulation. The environmental impact analysis can be done of both the product life cycle or the entire company production. So you can either certify the product, so 1 bottle of wine, or all the company production. We have the air indicator that expresses the impact that production of a specific product or general activities of the company have on climate change. The water indicator that deals with the consumption of fresh water, which takes into account the water consumed and polluted in the vineyard and in the cellar for the production of wine. We have the vineyard indicator that takes into consideration the agronomic management practices of the vineyard, and in particular evaluates the use of crop protection products and the related consequence on water outlets and the soil. And then we have the territory indicator that take into account landscape as well as the social and economic aspect within the sustainability assessment. To do this, a set of qualitative and quantitative indicators were developed capable of measuring the actual effects on the territory of the action undertaken by wine companies. We have community, which are related for social and economic consequence on workers, the local community, the producers and the consumers. The environment, which is more related to the biodiversity, the protection and landscape enhancement. And culture, which is the protection of the heritage and the cultural tradition, and again the enhancement of the local territory and the local places, with references always to the economic effects on the territory that has to the local community. These indicators are very interesting and useful as tool in the decision-making process to show a trend, to return information in a synthetic way, and they're also useful to quantify, measure, and communicate the results in international standards, because they are internationally recognizable. This is an example of an improvement plan for a company. So once all the indicators have been calculated, you will have the results. And in this case, for example, the company, thanks to an analysis of the indicator air, so the one related to climate change, has identified the following critical points. So for example, packaging was the most impacting process on greenhouse gases emissions, particularly for the glass bottles, consumption of agricultural diesel, and consumption of energy and auxiliary materials in the winery. So here we have some improvements that must be done for the company to pursue the program and the certification. So the suggestions are to analyze and see different possible glass bottle. So for example, lighter glass bottles, so to be able to use less packaging, so less glass. And then use the use of biodiesel as a substitute, even in party, so partial, to the conventional agricultural diesel, and then the replacement of conventional lamps, for example, with low energy lamps. After 2 years, the ministry will check if these improvements have been taken into account, so have been taken into place, and they will want to see the purchase invoices for the glass bottle, for example, the purchase invoices of biodiesel, the seller visit, and they will calculate again all the 4 indicators. So how it is possible to recognize a Viva certified wine or a Viva certified company? Labels exist, different for the Italian and the international markets. The black one is the Italian label for the Italian market, and it's for certified wines. It is possible to see the result following the QR code. The white one is for companies, so cannot be used in the bottle, but it is possible to write that in the bottle that the farm is certified without using the actual label. And for the international market, this on the top right is the label that should be used. And also here the QR code shows the results on the smartphone. And in this slide, you can see the digital label that can be seen using a smartphone with the detail of each indicators and the percentage of the impact. For example, in this case, the indicator air, so the one related to climate change, is impacted by the 35% by the wine cellar and by the 33% by the vineyard. So probably, most probably, in these 2 stage of the production will be focused the improvement plans. So the application of Viva, it has also Viva indicators are also the basis on 4 regional programs that exist now in Italy to measure the sustainability and performance of the companies on a territorial scale. So for specific regional products, we have Sustain in Sicily with 9 big wine companies, Vita, the sustainability principle in Piedmont for wine growing area, Proinos in Veneto, and Viticultura Sostenibile in Friuli Venezia Giulia. Among these 4, the most successful one is Sustain, the one based in Sicily. Sustain is a foundation born in 2020 and is based on the awareness that the impact of agriculture activities goes behind the fields. They also impact the welfare of workers and the health of consumers, and they involve the local communities, and also involve the enhancement of the surrounding territory and the preservation of natural resources. For this reason, the program objectives are to promote ethical and sustainable development in the Sicilian growing sector, to enable the sharing of best practice aimed to respect the ecosystem of the region, develop the territorial project to ensure sustainable and equitable and inclusive growth, characterization and distribution and monitoring of natural area, habitats and species, both for animal and plant, to protect the biodiversity and conserve Sicily natural capital. And last, to monitoring the social economic assets as key to sustainable development of the region. To do and fulfill all those objectives, sustain program are based, sustain specification is based on 10 minimum requirements which company have to comply in order to obtain the certification. The first one is the vineyard management. So in the production of grapes, wineries are required to comply with at least one regulation. There are many, but for example, one, it should be an organic production. Second, no chemical herbicides. So there is the provision of use the chemical herbicides. 3, biodiversity. So companies that have an area with more than 15 hectares must maintain as natural areas at least the 5% of the surface area of the company. 4, non-recyclable or non-biodegradable materials can be used in the realization of new vineyards. 5, local raw materials, of course, so 100% of any grapes and wines purchased must be of regional origin. 6, they must use Viva indicators, so companies are required to calculate the indicator that we just saw before. So that's how Viva is always present in this regional program. 7, regarding the winemaking, only production process with an energy consumption of less than 0.77 kilowatt hours per liter of wine are considered efficient. And 8, the average weight of the wine bottles must be less or equal to 550 grams per 0.75 liters of wine, because as we saw and you can imagine, the bottles can be really impactful in this analysis. 9, the company adhering to the program are required to prepare a sustainability report before a specific date. And 10, laboratory analysis must be carried out annually to control the residues of agricultural chemicals present in the wine. So as you saw, these are this program that I explain you just to show you now are connected to sustainability, but also to local territorial enhancement, identity, and protection. And these are the advantages also of this program. Yes, we have the competitiveness and the marketing, as we saw at the beginning, to be in an international market, to think of the future of consumers, so the Generation X and millennials. It's important for communication, so these programs are develop some consumer awareness and also expectation, because the consumers become more aware of the existence of this program. Networking, and this is for the partner that are the winemakers and the companies that are part in the program. And innovation, because both Viva and Sustain can help the value chain and the wine supply chain for specific company to be innovated. But mostly it is important for the environmental protection and at the same time the economic saving, because with this intervention and the implementation and improvements plan, companies are capable of reducing not only the impact of the winery and on the environment, but also production costs and waste of resources. As we saw, the continuous improvement, which for a company is essential, and enhancement of the territory and local communities, because there is also an important perspective for the social and the territorial point of view, protection of the region, increase the local tourism, and enhance the local products, specific products. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Giulia. I will ask the other speakers to turn on their screen so that we can pass to the Q&A session. So if you have any question, you can text us. You either have to press the question mark on the bottom of your screen if you're connecting by the cell phone, and otherwise you have to go on the right side of your screen. You will find the orange arrow, you press on it, and then you go on the Q&A section. Just another thing before going to the Q&A session, while you type, I just wanted to remind you that on Thursday at the same time that we are doing now, we'll be having a free webinar on how to practically make a wine with low sulfite content. So we'll give out practical strategies for producing a wine with low sulfites. You have the link in the chat, so if you click on there, you can subscribe to the next webinar. The speaker will be Dominique Deltail, which is a freelance international winemaking consultant and a former scientific director of the ICB in France. So yeah, thank you very much for checking that out. So I will go to straight to the Q&A. So I've got a question each, and I think that we can close to stay in an hour. So Simone, terroir against territorial identity, natural evolution or political challenge?
We need to understand in which country we are talking. But what I can say is that you know, if you look at the international market of wine, it is divided into two half. One is the wine of the old world, and the other one is the wine of the new world. And the difference is usually related to the geographical indication. If you go and see the wine of the old world, and if you look at Italy or France, Italy has 524, 26, I don't remember, geographical indication for wine. France has less, 100 less than Italy. But if you look, for example, at Australia, they have very few geographic indication. There are historical reason for that. But if you look to Australia, they are focusing on geographical indication and territorial identity to push the sales of the wine. Same goes with Chile and other countries in the New World. So in Italy, maybe we have a problem related mostly to the size of the companies. So the revolution should be in the aggregation of the companies, but not in the common feeling of the territorial identity, because we have so many geographic indication, because we already feel the territorial identity. So it's an evolution. It's an evolution because we need to understand the logics of the market and how to implement sustainability in the logic of the markets. But it is not actually a revolution. It is something that is already happening all over the world.
Thank you very much, Simone. So I will close with one question for you, Giulia. Territories based with the small farms, could Viva provide benefits to them, and how should they organize?
How should they organize this certification? Yes, of course, they can provide benefits also for them. There are many small companies among these 100 Italian wineries companies. They can be followed. So there are different consultants in all the national territory. If you can go to the website, and there is the specific space for consultant. I don't know if they are called consultant in Italy or expert, but anyway, there is the name and the region. So you can open a specific region in Italy, and you have all the names that these trained people that can help to follow this certification. But also, once you show interest, you write to the ministry. They will give you all the required documents, so the specification, all the X file to be able to calculate this. The most consuming part is, of course, collecting data. So for small companies, can be time consuming. They maybe could need a person just to collect this amount of data. But once you collected all the data and you have the results, then there is the most important part. So the implementation of the suggestion to implement the results, the impact. So I think it can be dual for small companies. I think they can be followed by specific trained consultants in the national territory. And I think there are many small winery companies certified in Italy.
Thank you very much, Giulia. So I will ask also to Ettore to turn on his webcam to say just a final goodbye.
Yes.
Okay, there you are. So thank you very much, Ettore, for your effort to organize this webinar. So I'll let you say the final goodbye.
Thank you to all the participants today and tomorrow, and thank you very much to Giulia and Simone for being here, and you, Francesco, for organizing the webinar. As always, perfect.
Thank you very much. So we will have another webinar in 2 weeks, always on Monday. You will receive information by email, so check them out. And you can also find the information on our website or on Facebook, etc. So thank you very much for having been here. So thank you very much, Giulia. Thank you very much, Simone. I'll let you say goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye. See you the next time.